Hi, I hope you'll indulge me in my limited success with video cams, but at least there'll be some memories of the State House reunion here. Tom Farkas is my name. I graduated in 1960. I'm a math teacher at Edison Middle School in South Bend. Been in the same school for 32 years. My wife is the former Janice Pro, whom I was dating, and when at State House we got married in Thanksgiving vacation of my senior year. Jan, of course, is a graduate from Purdue. My daughter Karen is going to be a senior in audiology speech sciences at Purdue. My son graduated in pharmacy this past, or a year ago, May, and he's got 1 year under his belt for his master's. His intent is to get his doctorate in pharmacy and teach at the college level. Just one other comment, tentative schedule is July 4th, 1997 for the next reunion at State House, I should say.
Where they are, hell. You had a hard time? You're smoking them cigars?
Don't let me touch you.
Good boy.
Well, now stop here.
Excellent idea.
You gotta keep treating them or you get that moss.
Oh, I bet that would be true.
Well, and those are good.
Some people have.
Tell you what, though, he's put pretty.
Yeah, he's got the thick ones on it. They're much thicker than normal.
Yeah, wouldn't that be more expensive for insurance?
Oh yeah. You go up and see the room right here.
Remember that? What did you do?
Shave my head for $7.
Yeah, I need money.
Did you see that?
No.
Don't do it.
Oh, wait, I gotta get.
Remember that, right?
Remember.
I remember that shirt too. You didn't know you were there, did you? No, I didn't.
Yeah.
And you know where he went after that?
Oh, I was showing. You have nowhere to go. How about that white expression? Is that David?
Guys were we had a live show, and the girls were all waving. Yeah, right. I remember. There's Andy.
And Andy.
She has been.
I gotta move. Hi, Dad.
Kathy.
When you quit playing
I remember her.
Oh, she hasn't changed.
I remember her, you know, as a kid, have my son with me, Tom. He graduated Purdue in '89.
And he lives, where do you live at?
Newcastle, Henry County.
56, anybody else 56?
I should have been 56. I had a stint in the Army, maybe 58, but Morton Kimmel, been teaching about over 30 years. My wife was Sharon, over here.
Live in West Lafayette.
West Lafayette.
He's a real, got to be a real Purdue backer. He lives right in the backyard. Okay, 57, 58.
Joe Lynn.
57. Where's
Roger, don't leave me. I'm sorry. I started Purdue at a very, very young age. I got out in '57. Shortly after I got out, I went to work for Allied Mills, Wayne City Company. Spent 15 years in sales with them, 17 and a half years with International Home Service. Then went to retirement, early retirement because of a heart attack. And I couldn't sit at home. Now I've been almost a year of recovery trying to be consultant. Shortly after I got out, I married a young lady here beside me. A lot older than I am. You're in big trouble. She's my first wife, Betty, and I introduced her to my first wife to keep her on her toes. We have 4 children. We have boys and a girl that kind of spread out from 34 down to 22, so we spread her family out. can't tell you, we live in Allen, Illinois right now. We don't have enough time for me to tell you where we live in between that.
Just tell us where you're from, what you're doing. If you want to tell us anything about your family or whatever, that's up to you.
I'm at Muncie, Indiana. Been at Ball State for like 23 years now. And I did graduate in 58 in Ag Ed and taught vocational ag for 6.5 years. And Ralph Bentley looked me up. He got a large grant and asked me to come back and work with him as a graduate assistant. And I did that and got my doctorate in 1967. And I've been at Ball State ever since that, supervised student teachers for a good number of those years. And the last 10 years, I'm in my 10th year as chairman of the Department of Secondary Higher Education. Coming here with the light green top on, and we have 3 children. They're all out away from home now, and the last one is getting married this summer, 30-year-old. And we're celebrating. And we've had a good life, and we've appreciated our association with Purdue. We still go to the Ag fish fry and maintain.
I live in Lexington, Kentucky. This is my wife, Sharon. She teaches school there, and I'm the State Soil Science and Soil Conservation Service in Kentucky. We left Indiana in 70.
I'm a state farm agent. I have one daughter that's 22 years old. I'm Charlie Rogers. My wife has left me. She left me about an hour ago. I don't know. But
Again. Hey, Charlie, you got my hair. I want it back. He's not quite as laid back as he might appear. 61, Al Donaldson.
there's a few of us around. There ought to be. I'm Al Donaldson. My wife, Kathy, is here. I work with the Soil Conservation Service at North Vernon as an agronomist. We live in Brown County, about 15 miles from Nashville. Let's see, 3 kids, 4 grandkids. I can't remember them all. There's a sign over here from State House. I don't know where it went. Out there. Just a little bit of a story about it. It is authentic. No, I didn't steal it. I didn't know we'd ever need one. The guy who used to work for me needed a little help on his work appraisal. He came up with that sign. So, we'll try to bring it back at the next one.
Okay, thank you.
Joe Williams. I came in same time Al did. Recruited, I think, by Roger Kemper.
Probably so.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yep. He's always sold, right? My wife, Leanna, is sitting here with a Pepsi in her hand. Someone's got to say something. We live here in the Westfield area, have for a long time. And I retired a few years ago from A.C. Nielsen Company after 27 years. Currently do a little work with Nabisco. We have 3 sons, all of whom are going to graduate from Purdue. Believe it or not, 2 of them are going to graduate from the ag school. I can't believe it myself. But we're glad to be here, glad to see people we haven't seen in a long time. Thanks everybody.
I graduated in 61 my BS. I got my master's degree. Went out and taught for a couple of years, and then I got into the seed industry, which is where I spent my career. Associated with Callahan Enterprises. We have 2 sons. My oldest son, Larry, graduated from DePaul University in Greencastle last spring and has finished his first year law school at IU, which sort of hurts me when I have to sit down and write that tuition check. I still do it.
This is my wife, Judy.
Shoemaker.
Judy Shoemaker. I had to stay around Lafayette for a year or so while she finished as a pharmacist. I worked with Sears and Roebuck, went through their corporate training program. I spent about 3 years then with International Harvester and Farm Equipment Division, and the last 25 years or so I've been in the animal health business. I used to run into Charlie and Roger, Charlie, and Charlie Kimmel. We spent several years in the Carmel area. Illinois, 2.5 years in Australia, and we now live in Kansas City, and I hope that's where we're going to stay for. But we've been out there about 8 years. I spent part of the time with Eli Lilly, Lanco, and then I went out to Kansas City. With
David Burney. I graduated from forestry in '62, and then my wife and I got married. We came back to Indiana and started working for the Soil Conservation Service. I worked in Indiana for 10 years, and then we went to Ohio. Was over there for 15 years. Thought we were coming back to Indianapolis. We had some health problems. Soil Conservation Service says, well, you can go back. And got recruited to Franklin because that's where Ruth was going, and got her degree in accounting. And Bill, I've been talking about Purdue, so I don't know. Charlie Kimball just did a little recruiting there a little bit ago. And what'd she tell you, Charlie? Is she going or not?
I'm 62. Okay. My wife Janet. My daughter was here earlier. Billy Rogers' daughter, Bobby B's daughter were sorority sisters. 2 of them were good looking, and my daughter looked very much like my wife. So she was off-site. Been in the barn too, boy. I've been in the real estate business since 1962. My son has been at Purdue now for 7 years, working on what's called an undergraduate degree, and some career elsewhere. I ended up graduating in 1970 from Loyola in Chicago business, and I bounced around in the Middle East and London, and Minnesota, New York, Puerto Rico. I'm in Miami now, and I sell air conditioning in the Caribbean and South America. We've got kids. Son is 19, and daughter is 50. I've been married 25 years, and I'm sure appreciate getting back in the end. Thank you for all the organization.
Bob Danielson, graduated in '63. I live in Plymouth, Indiana. I started with NIPSCO, was in their engineering department for 2 or 3 years. Then I got into mobile home sales because my wife's family owned a mobile home company. My wife's named Barbara. She couldn't be here today because she last minute got word her brother and family was visiting us this weekend in Florida. I left that, 17 years in Plymouth. I opened the Pizza King franchise in Plymouth several years ago. We've sold that now. Have 3 kids, 2 sons and a daughter. My oldest, they've all graduated from Purdue. My oldest son is in Chicago in insurance business. My daughter graduated a year ago in May. Got married about the same time, and she's down in Houston, Texas with compR3.
That I had a older brother, still do have an older brother. I have 2. That's right, Jolene. I have 2 older brothers. But Dick also went to State House. Dick's 3 years older than I am. He cannot be here today. Let's see, I graduated industrial management and went to work for Johnson Controls. They're headquartered in Milwaukee, and I went to work here in Indianapolis, and I've been here ever since. So, different positions with them, but I've never left the area. Married for a short time, then I saw the light. So I've been actually at this location here, living here about since 73, I think, 72, 73. I remember bringing Kimmel by here, and Kimmel said, "Don't buy this place." Remember that, Charlie? Yeah. So that's about it. I'm in marketing and sales.
2.5 years of extension service. Transferred to Greencastle, 1969. Central National Bank as a trust officer. Still there, except we're employed by Merchants National Bank in Indianapolis, soon to be at National City of Cleveland. Corporate teams. We have 3 children. One graduated from Purdue in restaurant hotel management. Here in Chicago to a convention. You might see him at the
O'Hare Marriott. He's in charge of the leaders there. A boy in agriculture at Vincennes University, and an 18-year-old daughter.
I actually was in the class of '63, but I liked being a senior so well, and I stuck around until January of '64. But I consider myself the class of '63. I spent about 5 years in the wholesale flour business when I got out of school. Ended up in Indianapolis with them, and that's where we met. Diana's a nurse degree here. We met through a friend. Then I took a temporary job with what was Connecticut General at that time, now Cigna Corporation. That was about 1970, and was selling employee benefits. And I'm still doing that. I'm still with them. We spent about 10 years in Fort Wayne, the rest of the time here in Indianapolis. Thanks, Larry. Any other six?
My wife, Jan. After graduation, I went ahead and got my master's degree at Purdue. Went to Iowa State, took my doctorate before I met Jan. We were married in '67. We've been married for 25 years.
I taught mathematics at Central Catholic High School there in Lafayette for 3 years. And I've been a State Farm agent ever since, about 26 years there in Lafayette.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Anybody else in '63?
1963. And then a week later I married Joyce. Going to be married next year for 30 years. And we got 2 sons, live in Minneapolis. I spent 6 years active duty in the Navy. And then we got on '69 and went to work for Northwest Airlines, and I've been off and on with them for many years, like airline jobs there, but I'm a captain on the 57 now. And we live about 20 miles south of Minneapolis. And we have 2 sons. One's like Kimmel's kid. He's been in school ever since he's been 19 years old, and he's still trying to graduate. He's 28. And one's 23, and he's in art school in Mankato State. But we appreciate you Hoosiers throwing us a shindig here. Yeah. And I saw Kimmel's son pouring margaritas at Harry's in March. First time.
I got this nice letter from the university from his son. Worked somewhere else, great, but not that great. So I went to Indiana State University. Got a degree in 1964 in Essex County. Master's degree in 1971. I've been in finance my entire life. Currently I work for a company called MPD in Owensboro, Kentucky. Before that I worked for 18.5 years for Carter Brothers, relay manufacturing company in southern Indiana. I live in Evansville, Indiana. My wife, 26 years, was here a while ago, but she happens to be a professional shopper, so she's shopping right now. I have IU in a county. My son attended IU 2 years, 22, but I think he's going to be a 9 or 10 year.
I graduated from Purdue in '64 in ag education. Moved to Greene County, which is south of that other Indiana University. I live about 17 miles south of there. I've been there ever since, so I finished my 28th year of teaching. I teach 9th through 12th. I teach 2 classes of welding, a beginning and advanced welding. I teach a class of small engine. Then I have 3 ag classes. We're a rural area, but basically I more or less teach agribusiness. Somebody made a comment about the kids going in agriculture. You've got to realize 25% of all jobs out here in the United States are agriculture related. No other occupation can have that high rate, so agriculture is not too bad. We have 3 kids. My wife, Jan, she's related to Joe Williams' wife. That's the way I got to meet her to start with. I was back for homecoming at Purdue, and she asked me where I was living. I said Bloomington. So she said she had a sister down there going to school, and that caused a lot of problems. And
mechanical engineering, and worked for a year. Then went out east to Harvard, got an MBA, and then took my first job in Milwaukee, where I met Ellie, and we've been married 22 years, going on 23, whatever, in that range. We got married in '69. Calculate it yourself.
Blew that.
No, well, you know, when you got married, you're okay. We have 3 boys. The oldest one is 22, and he's getting out. He got out of the Air Force Wednesday, and he's driving home right now.
Senior actually will be in a month or 2 here, and is here with us today. And Barbara high school junior. Both of whom have talked about going to Purdue, but since I live in Texas now, that's out-of-state tuition, and we're thinking hard about that. But we'll try and get them up here as best we can. We've been getting them up here whenever we get a chance to travel to Indiana, which is not too often anymore. To kind of rub some gold and black on them, and it seems to be rubbing off a little bit. We'll see how it goes. I was a Navy ROTC puke when I was there, as you guys probably remember. Marcus and me and Copeland and some other guys used to wear some funny blue suits on Thursdays and go march down the street. So when I graduated, I became a capitalist imperialist warmonger, also kind of like Dan and some of these other guys. Went to flight training in Pensacola and Kingsville and some other fun places where the Navy teaches people how to fly jet airplanes. And then spent some time in the Southeast Asia War Games, 4 deployments to the Vietnam area on board the Enterprise. And then I got a chance to go to the Navy's test pilot school, which was kind of an eye-opener for me, and I really finally found a use for calculus.
It's got to be a lie.
Just an example.
And that was a good tour. While I was there, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration put out an announcement for astroplanes. And I was the branch chief, and so all these lieutenants were coming around, and JG's putting in their applications for this program because it's the first time that NASA had asked for astronaut applications for 9 years since 1969. And there was about 2 weeks or so left and I've been writing all the endorsements for these people, telling how great they all were. They walk on water, maybe some of them even walk above the water a little bit. And then toward the end of that application period, I got to thinking about it and said, well, what have I got to lose? I'm probably too old to do this, but I gave it a shot anyway. It took a little bit of time to fill this thing out. And lo and behold, somehow magically I got selected for the program and reported to Houston in 1978. And then was indeed fortunate enough to fly 2 space shuttle flights, the first one on board Discovery in April 1985 as a co-pilot. Actually, NASA calls them pilots. It's kind of like the airline business. Nobody likes to be a co-pilot. They have captains and first officers and second officers and stuff. NASA has commanders, pilots, and mission specialists, and payload specialists. So that flight on board Discovery for 7 days, and then I commanded a flight on board Atlantis. We deployed the Galileo spacecraft, which is now on its way to Jupiter, we hope. And we did there in 1995.
Well, I graduated from Purdue 55 years, should have been 55. And then on weekends, went down to Bloomington, we got my MR degree that same year, and married my wife Jane. So with Jane, we've had 4 wonderful children. The oldest was Whit, graduated from Purdue 4 years ago, married a Purdue grad, and they've given me two beautiful little granddaughters. My oldest daughter graduated from Indiana State.
And thank goodness, 2 more to go. One's going to be out next spring. So we got a little 16-year-old.
Don Hahn.
And yes, dear, I got 1 new grandchild. Forgot her last night, or him. Forgot him last night. So they're special. They are special. I guess Charlie Rogers, you know that. But I somehow or another got myself moved out to Oklahoma. We live in Oklahoma City through the corporate ranks. Ralston Purina transferred me out there.
I got 2 boys. The oldest one graduated from Valdosta College in Valdosta, Florida, Georgia. And the youngest one's a senior now at Ball City. I went on after I got my degree at Purdue and went on to vet school. I don't know how I got in there, but I got graduated in 1970. And we live east of Muncie in a little place called Parker City. It's a great big place. That's all.
You have a veterinary certificate?
Yes. Large, small, and exotic.
Okay. I found out Ken knows some of the people that we know. Paramore, for instance, Charlie. And Roy Garvin, who I know. So, okay, any other 67?
Yeah, here.
Hey. You had him guess.
Right. I guess if Charlie Nickham and Bob Daffron and a couple of others started the same year, and we all ended up in different graduating classes. So everyone's guessing when we finally graduated. I started in '61. I co-opted engineering and then changed schools and ended up graduating in 1967. I've worked for the past 25 years for Sunstrand Corporation in various places around the country, and I'm back in Indiana for the last 3 years after being to the West Coast and back over that time frame. I've been married for almost 25 years. My wife Sarah was a Purdue grad, or is a Purdue grad also. She was at Anquidale, graduated later than I did sometimes, though I don't recall exactly when. I have 3 children. I have a daughter, Leanne, who's at Metro State in Denver. One of the stops on our trek west and back. And I have a son who's will be a senior in high school this year, and a daughter who's will be a junior in high school. All bound for Purdue, I hope, though we don't know for sure.
Any other 67?
Here.
Okay, Bob.
I married Carol 25 years ago. She's a Purdue graduate in microbiology, so she teaches math. I don't know exactly how that works. We have 4 children. 24. She graduated from Illinois Wesleyan a couple years ago, and we have a 21-year-old who will be a senior at Illinois Wesleyan. I haven't been able to talk any of them into Purdue. I guess I'm not near as good in sales. I shouldn't be in that business. I have a 16-year-old who I'm trying to talk into Purdue. It's not working well either, so I need some of you guys to help me. And then I have a 14-year-old boy.
1970, graduate of Purdue. We have 3 children. Alice is 8 and Joe, 7. 16 boys, die-hard. My daughter goes to Purdue. It'll be a big deal. Looking at Indiana, we'll be back. But we said we'll be nice about it. We'll take her down there and show her. We'll drive you through it 60 miles an hour.
She was there the last year I was there, and then she was there for a long time after. What did you say?
Yeah, witches, I know. You got her fruit.
Wait. The Astro. We always go through Mrs. Astro. Remember?
Yeah. Okay, let me...
Get that where
We sure have.
This is Tom Farkas. I just thought some of you might like to see what the present State House looks like. Today is July 7th, 1992. I'll just scan around a little bit. Looks like they put a 2-story extension on it. 3 windows at the back on top and bottom. I'll go around the back now for another view. Looks like the old fire escape door is open. Maybe somebody got thrown down the fire escape recently.